who actually killed others and did very brave deeds. We didn't do any of those things. But what we did was to find information that would save lives and possibly shorten the war. And we became very easygoing and so on. And one incident sticks in my mind. We came off watch one morning, saying that the rest of the day is ours, and we were called over the intercom saying, Sea Watch, that was the watch I was in, report to the signal school. Well, we hadn't been to the signal school for 3 years. There was cobwebs all over the, you know, the locks were rusty. I thought, what the hell is this? So we went down to the signal school, and there was a new warrant telegraphist out from the UK, and he's going to smarten us up a bit. And looking back on it, I wouldn't have blamed him, but not at that age. So we walked in and we sat down there, and he said, now then, you lot. He said, I'm going to teach you about RT procedure. What the bloody hell do we want RT? We're not going to use a microphone. We're not going to send messages by phone. And I started to look out the window. By then I was ready for my acting PO, you know, sort of getting places. And I kind of looking nonchalantly out the window. So he said, what's your name, lead name? I said, Kendrick, Chief. He said, suppose you know all this, do you? I said, yes, Chief. We were taught it in signal school back home. Oh, you know it, do you? Yes, Chief. Oh, well, he knew we hadn't used it for 3 years. I mean, and he was doing the right thing. But I was cocky at that age, you know, so he said, choose somebody in the room and send him a message. Well, I looked around and we had one of these, you know, a fellow called Peter Shaw, who didn't live very far from us, from here. And he was a raging gay, you know, with his hair bleached and all the rest of it. And in presence of people who he knew were not interested, he spoke normally. But as soon as a stranger came in the room, he put on his mincing hat too, I suppose. And I looked across and I saw Peter. I said, all right, Pete. And this fellow had never met Peter in his life. And good old Pete, he said, all right, Norman. Like this. Chief looked at him like this. So I said, your call letters are JJ. All right, Norman. I said, mine's UG. Now, in those days, it was a different phonetic alphabet than the funny one that we're using today. And the letter J was jig. The letter G was George, and the letter U was uncle. So I'd given him 2 J's. And anyone who's been to the Middle East will know what jig stands for. Used to get little Arab boys coming up. Hey, Master, jig, my sister, very good, you say. And I said, hello, jig, hello. And all the lads were looking at the hats, you know. Hello, jig, hello, jig. This is Uncle George. I was all right, you, Jig. This is Uncle George. This is Uncle George. And if you think some of the procedure on 2 meters is long-winded, you should have heard this. Report my signals, over. Hello, Uncle George. Hello. This is Jig. He did this little laugh. This is Jig. This is Jig. You're loud and clear, over. Hello, and back you go. And eventually you come to the bit where you say, hello, Jig, I have a message for you, over. Hello, Uncle George. Send your message, over. I said, hello, Jig, hello, Jig. This is Uncle George. Your ship is turning, over. So all the hats went up and the lad said, bugger it, you know. And I had to keep my face dead straight, and so did Peter. He said, dismiss. And off we went, and he said, I was watching you, leading hand. One bloody smile, and I'd have had you. Looking back on it, if I'd have been him, I'd have said, just stand there, leading hand. But that was youth. Finally, I'm sometimes asked, have I worked any Japanese stations using Kana? Well, I've actually been in a Japanese whaler and sent Kana when I was asked to do some clerical work for a few bob in my spare time, and I went down to Tilbury, and I went down to the radio room with the Jap, and I started sending Kana on it, and he recognised it straight away and got out the sake wine, but I didn't tell him where I'd learned it. And the other one was I got called by a Japanese ship which was in the Bay of Bengal. This is on 20 meters. And I said, where are you bound? Now, I'm sure that some of you here can read Morse well enough to know that the time comes in reading Morse that you don't read letters anymore. It's as if they're talking to you, isn't it? Well, it really is. It's as though they may just as well be speaking to you. And if they're speaking to you, you can imagine accents. I got called from a very nice girl, a woman on 2 meters the other night. Straight away I could tell it was a woman on the key, her turn of phrase and everything. And I could almost hear her voice. And it was the same with this Jap. And I said to him, "Where are you bound?" He said, "Bound for Calcutta with hold full of Honda car." Like that. Oh, and I went bloody seething, you know. Oh, full of Honda car. You know. So I went back and I made this. Now, I use a short break like that to say something unusual is coming. There are other people, some people use exclamation marks, but I use a couple of short breaks. And here comes the car now. And that TZ isn't the equivalent of RVA. That is the equivalent of RVA I'm not sending anymore. And I didn't. And you're all wanting to know what that said, don't you? Well, I promised the ladies I wouldn't say a rude word, and I don't think I have. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm delighted that this has been videoed, because I have to say that for health reasons it's doubtful that I'll be able to come out very much more with this talk to anyone else, unless of course I have the assistance of some of my friends, like I have this evening, who brought me here and will be taking me home. Thank you very much indeed.
Promised you an entertaining evening, and I'm sure you'll agree that's what we've had. Thank you, Norman, once again for coming along and talking to us this evening, and thank you fellas for bringing him down, and we hope that you've enjoyed your evening as well.
Very much.
And you'll go back and tell everyone what a friendly crowd we've got in the file. We've got people down from Lancaster and all over the place, and can we show our appreciation once more, please?